Here. We're watching the Yegi and Tech 9. Although they're way better players than I could ever be, there may be some mistakes that they made, even some that I'm not even going to notice during this replay. So gargoyles are a really interesting counter to, obviously, they're the good undead counter to Orc Air. However, they're easily countered by Bat Riders. And now in order to counter that counter, that's how we're kind of going in a loop here, the undead player upped the armor of the gargoyles in order so they can take a few more hits from those bats. It can take more bats to destroy those gargoyles. Still, bats are very, very effective versus those groups, and they're going to go down very, very quickly, especially with fortified with the chain lightning from the Farseer, which we're going to see later on, used a good amount to kill those units. Secondary hero for the Orc is very standard, going with the Shadow Hunter. It does go with the Hex first, I believe. I wasn't paying attention. And you see a really good use of the gargoyles here, trying to pick off individual wyverns. However, they all ended up dying, and the Death Knight is all that's left. Taking a look at the army counts, we're 22 food for the undead player and 38 now for the Orc. So Orc's got a little bit of advantage at this point, but it's going to go back and forth, like I said. Losing all those gargoyles there wasn't necessarily a good thing, and even having those armor upgrades didn't seem to help him as much. The Wind Riders, in the fact that at this point, don't have any upgrades, and that's kind of the point of going early Wind Riders like this. When you're fast teching, you want to get a whole bunch of them before you start upgrading them. He does, in fact, later in the game start to upgrade them. But at this point in the game, he's still trying to mass up his army and save his resources so he can continually make them and put the pressure on his opponent. Now, if he hadn't lost his army, would he be banking all that money? You bet. I would imagine that the Orc wouldn't have any reason to spend his money above 50 food, even if he had a lot of it. He would be banking it, so in case he did happen to lose all his army in a bad fight, that he could easily come back from it. Having dual bestiaries allows him to reproduce those lost units relatively quickly. So taking a look at food counts during this fight that we're looking at right now, it's 27 versus 38. The Orc's still ahead. Very, very interesting to see how the undead player is trying to play defensively here, but the Orc was able to keep the pressure, enough pressure off his base to be able to make this fast tech work really well, and he just got a Death Knight kill there, so very, very looking real bad for the undead at this point. If you click the show winner button on the replay of this audio commentary, I don't know if there's actually show winner there, and of the replay, that when it's in the remember replay section, you can find out that the undead player does in fact lose. So it's interesting to see how this tactic does work versus undead. Now, most people, I think the general consensus is that Orc is more powerful than undead, and I think that's probably, in most cases, that's probably true. And this game definitely definitely lives up to that statement. Undead has a hard time keeping up with Orc's army. The Orc army is a lot stronger than the Undead army at most points of the game, and the Undead has to be very, very on top of his game early game. In fact, if an Orc player is going grunts and things like that earlier and slow playing it, maybe not harassing as much, maybe trying to get a creep advantage, that's actually more beneficial for the Undead player, because then he can kind of harass him and take advantage of that. The Undead Orc player is now setting up his expansion, as you guys can see in the replay, although it's being scouted out here by the Shade, and the Undead player is going to have to cancel it. I'm sorry, I'm shoutcasting a little bit there. He does eventually get that expansion going at that location, and then he starts to go above his upkeep, which is exactly what I've been pointing out earlier. Taking a look at the food counts again, the Undead player is having a very hard time trying to keep up again. We're at 25 out of 49. He has yet to have his secondary hero. Eventually, he will have his Lich out. In fact, I think he'll be making it relatively quickly here, because game's about 75% of the way done here. Be sure to leave your comments about the watching these replays at the 2x speed. I'm not sure if you guys like this or not, but for me, I like to be able to not sit in a game and blabber on about the same thing. And if it's happened, most games. Let's see how I want to describe this. When I first introduce people to Warcraft 3, the very first thing I tell them is that this game is a lot faster than they're going to think it is. And whenever you watch a person who's never played the game and who's just started, they sit in their base, they don't do things, they play a lot slower, and usually they're frustrated by the fact that the game is like they're getting killed early on due to harassment or whatever by a more experienced player. So watching it at 2x speed for me is a little strange at this moment, because I think the game goes by so quickly. It's a little ironic that we're watching it faster, because even though it's fast, it's not fast enough for me, I guess. Anyway, for commentary purposes, and if we're trying to look at more replays and trying to kind of innovate and do some new things here, I kind of want to touch on a few different aspects of the game, so that's why we're doing it. Anyway, this game's just kind of coming up to a close now. The Orc, or the Undead, has massed up a decent-sized army to counter him because the Orc has stayed in Tier 2 for so long, stayed under 50 food for so long. That gave the Undead a chance to kind of keep up. As an opponent for an Orc player, when you want to hit him is around Tier 2 or a little bit after. I mean, if you can counter their little Tier 2 push, get a bigger army than them, because you know they're going to stay under 50 food. So you can get a bigger army than them, and you know you're going to have a bigger army than them after Tier 2, because they're going to be saving their money, and that's when you want to hit them and really put the damage down on them. Take out burrows and things like that if you can. Pick off weak units, and then target those secondary heroes when they first come out. That's kind of your order of thinking when you want to target things. Taking a look at the Orc heroes real quick, we're at 5 and 4. Very nice balance there, and still that one hero for the Undead player. I believe where the heck that Lich is. I think when I watched this replay earlier, the Lich got to level 2. So this is a cool fight here. The Undead ends up coming out ahead in this, I believe, or it's at least relatively even. All the Wyverns go down. So taking a look at food counts now, it completely flopped. We got a 24 food, 22 food on the Orc, as opposed to, it was higher, but that Chain Lightning killed off a lot of those weak low HP gargoyles. Had the Undead backed off a little bit further than that, he might have been able to save him and come back to fight another day, but unfortunately he's taking a lot of hits on that Death Knight, and had to pop that in Vuln Pot right before he died. He might have been able to get away without that, but just to be safe, he did in fact use his invulnerability potion. He in Morphear, he had to use his Dust of Appearance in case those wolves were coming out of the way. He's doing a very good job running around. Once that unit's on Blight, he does regen a lot, but unfortunately it's not enough. As we just saw, Chain Lightning was able to kill that Death Knight at level 6. That's pretty much going to end it for this game. He needed that level 6 hero, and it's going to take a long time to resurrect that guy. There is a tavern on this map, so he might be able to res him at the tavern if he had enough money. I think he's low on lumber, so he's not going to be able to do that. I forgot how much lumber it takes to res from the tavern. He did get a Frostrum out, which is really, really good. And with that level 3 armor upgrades, he's not going to be able to be killed easily by these Troll Bat Riders that are coming in. We'll take a look at that. Troll Bat Riders come in and detonate, and all 3 of those Orc air units are still alive. Unfortunately, they died from the Farseer picking them off with the Orb of Lightning. That's an interesting item to get on the Farseer. Normally you see it on heroes that can't attack air, but when both heroes that you have do have ranged attacks, like the Farseer and the Shadow Hunter, it's a good idea just to have it in general. You do get that every random chance of a purge, which would pick them off. So, really interesting game there, I think. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to kind of highlight these games and highlight the member replay section of WCReplays.com. And again, feel free to post your replays there, and who knows, maybe I'll do an audio commentary on it. And hopefully the people who I'm doing audio commentaries on these replays aren't too disappointed or angry at me for doing that. So let's get the next replay file linked up or synced up at the same time. We'll do it at 1 minute at the 2x speed. That'll be replay number 2. I'm going to get that going. This is a Human vs. Undead on Lost Temple, the classic version of Lost Temple, which is still being played on the ladder. These two players here seem to know each other, know of each other, so I'm not sure if they're famous or if they're just popular in their ladder or in their clan. I did not look any of these players up on the ladder, but I'm just assuming that they're very at least above average by their APMs and by what I saw in the replay. So hold on, let me get there. 1 minute, 2x speed, and let me pause it, and then I'm going to talk for another second. I want to alt tab so I can check out the replay when it was uploaded by the member. Eurobeat submitted this replay, and it looks like he put this on here. Shoot, I don't know what date. It doesn't have the date on it, but no comments yet, and it says it has 7 downloads. At least one of those are mine. Taking a look at the